Imagine a truth so potent, so transformative, that centuries of doctrine and dogma conspired to erase it from memory. A truth that whispers from the shadows of forbidden texts, waiting for those daring enough to seek it. What if I told you that there exists a hidden connection, a sacred bridge, between Sophia, the divine embodiment of wisdom, and Lilith, the exiled force of untamed feminine power, and that this link, once known and revered, was systematically buried by the Church, obscured behind layers of myth, fear, and control? To understand why, we must first step beyond the familiar corridors of history and theology, into a realm where knowledge was never merely informational, but alive, vibrating, transformative, and dangerous in the wrong hands. Sophia is not simply an abstract idea of wisdom. She is the cosmic intelligence that flows through the fabric of existence, the guiding principle that illuminates the hidden order of the universe. Lilith, conversely, has been vilified as the rebel, the shadow of the divine feminine, the one who refuses submission to imposed hierarchies. Yet, ancient esoteric traditions hint at something far more profound, a sacred resonance between these two forces, a dance of wisdom and liberation, of insight and autonomy. The Church, in its bid to consolidate spiritual authority, could not allow such a vision to persist. Knowledge that empowers the individual, particularly the awakening of a sovereign, conscious feminine principle, threatened the very structure of dogmatic control. As a result, this link, this luminous thread connecting wisdom and wildness, divinity and defiance, was deliberately severed, hidden in texts few could access, whispered only in the margins of mystical writings, or erased entirely. In this video, we will journey through the veiled history of Sophia and Lilith, uncover the philosophical and spiritual truths the Church sought to suppress, and explore why reclaiming this lost connection matters more than ever today. By the end, you will begin to see not just the story of a divine erasure, but a blueprint for awakening your own inner wisdom, the wisdom the Church once feared you might reclaim. To understand why the Sophia-Lilith connection was erased, we must first traverse the hidden currents of history, where myth, mysticism, and power intersected. Long before the rise of the institutional Church, civilizations such as the Sumerians, Egyptians, and early Gnostics revered a feminine principle that embodied both wisdom and autonomy. Sophia, whose name literally means wisdom in Greek, appears in Gnostic texts as a divine emanation, a cosmic intelligence whose light orders creation itself. She is both nurturing and fearless, a principle that teaches not through edict, but through awakening consciousness. Lilith, meanwhile, is often remembered only through fearsome folklore. The first woman created equal to Adam, who refused to submit and was consequently cast out. But in many ancient sources, Lilith is more than a demonized figure. She represents untamed knowledge, unshackled agency, and the courageous refusal to surrender the self to external authority. Early mythmakers understood that Lilith's defiance and Sophia's insight were two sides of the same coin. The integration of inner wisdom with the courage to live authentically, even when the world demands conformity. The philosophical significance of this link becomes clear when we consider the rise of orthodoxy in the first few centuries CE. As the Church began to consolidate power, it systematically suppressed Gnostic texts, labeling them heretical. Writings like the Apocryphon of John or the Hypostasis of the Archons, which hinted at Sophia's active role in creation and her subtle interplay with forces like Lilith, were burned, hidden, or exiled from canonical memory. Why? Because such knowledge democratized divinity. It suggested that spiritual truth was not solely mediated through priests or dogma, but could be directly accessed by anyone who dared to awaken. Philosophically, this erasure was an act of control disguised as moral protection. By demonizing Lilith and neutralizing Sophia's radical wisdom, the Church ensured that the feminine principle remained passive, bound to obedience, and that the masses were taught to seek truth only through sanctioned authority. Yet fragments of this suppressed knowledge survived, hidden in mystical traditions, secret societies, and esoteric writings that continued to whisper across centuries. Even today, scholars and seekers occasionally stumble upon these hidden threads, sensing that the ancient dichotomy between wisdom and wildness, reason and rebellion, is far more than symbolic. It is a key to understanding human consciousness itself, the way we relate to freedom, creativity, and the divine. Sophia and Lilith are not simply mythic figures. They are archetypes, living forces within each of us, waiting to be remembered and reunited. By tracing this historical and philosophical lineage, we begin to glimpse why the Church feared this connection. Not because it was false, but because it was true. And truth, once illuminated, has the power to disrupt the very foundations of imposed authority. To begin understanding the Sophia-Lilith connection, we must step beyond history and into the symbolic, metaphysical realm where myth and consciousness intertwine. Imagine the universe as a vast tapestry of light and shadow. Sophia represents the luminous threads, the radiant intelligence that organizes, illuminates, and reveals hidden patterns. Lilith, in contrast, is the dark, untamed strands, the force that refuses containment, that disrupts, that challenges the narrative of submission. Alone, each is powerful. Together, they form a dynamic spectrum of awakening. Sophia's wisdom is not passive. In Gnostic cosmology, she is the spark that ignites creation, the force that births worlds through consciousness itself. She embodies discernment, insight, and the capacity to see beyond illusion. Lilith, historically maligned as a demon or temptress, embodies the courage to act on that insight without compromise. She challenges the imposed order, refusing to bend to authority, to tradition, or to fear. The Church, recognizing the potency of this duality, feared its transformative potential. For if human beings understood that wisdom and autonomy were inherently linked, obedience to external dogma would become optional, and personal awakening inevitable. Consider the story of Lilith's refusal. She rejected Adam not out of malice, but because he represented a hierarchical order that denied her sovereignty. In that act lies a profound teaching. Freedom is not granted, it must be claimed. Sophia, in her wisdom, illuminates the path of that claim, revealing where inner strength, intuition, and discernment reside. The link is subtle but undeniable. Wisdom without courage stagnates. Courage without wisdom becomes reckless. Together, they form a potent alchemy of self-realization. Yet the Church sought to sever this link. Through narrative distortion and symbolic erasure, Lilith was demonized as a figure of sin, a cautionary tale against female independence. Sophia, too, was stripped of her rebellious, active aspect and reduced to a distant, ethereal figure, a passive embodiment of abstract virtue, rather than an immanent, actionable force. By fracturing the union between wisdom and autonomy, the Church redirected the divine feminine into a form that could be controlled, venerated superficially, but never fully realized in human consciousness. The implications of this erasure reach far beyond theology. The suppression of the Sophia-Lilith connection subtly conditioned societies to fear autonomy, to distrust intuition, and to reject the shadowy, disruptive elements of the self. Lilith's rebellion became shameful, Sophia's wisdom distant, and yet, beneath the surface of cultural conditioning, these energies never truly disappeared. They remained encoded in myth, hidden in esoteric texts, and inscribed in the psyche of every seeker willing to question authority. Think of it as a cosmic dance hidden in shadow. Sophia and Lilith are partners whose steps were obscured by centuries of dogma, yet the rhythm persists. Every intuitive insight, every act of courageous defiance, every moment of awakened discernment is a whisper of that sacred dance. In reclaiming their union, we are not merely recovering lost history, we are rediscovering the archetypal forces that shape consciousness itself. Even now, modern seekers report moments where wisdom and courage converge spontaneously, when insight drives action, when intuition becomes boldness, when the hidden inner knowledge of the self manifests in reality. This is the echo of Sophia and Lilith. It is subtle, often fleeting, but unmistakable. It is the spark the Church once feared, now waiting to be recognized and nurtured. Now let us venture deeper into the shadowed layers of meaning where Sophia and Lilith are not merely archetypes, but living forces with profound implications for consciousness. The connection between them is subtle, almost paradoxical. Sophia embodies order, illumination, and the divine pattern within existence. Lilith embodies chaos, liberation, and the raw, untamed potential of life. At first glance, they seem opposed, yet in truth, they are complementary, a duality necessary for the full awakening of the human spirit. Many myths obscure this truth. Lilith's vilification as a demon, a seductress, or a symbol of danger was not a reflection of her essence, but a deliberate inversion. By framing her as destructive, the Church ensured that the qualities she represents, assertiveness, sovereignty, and the fearless pursuit of personal truth, would be feared and suppressed. Meanwhile, Sophia was sanitized, transformed into a passive, contemplative figure, her revolutionary spark dimmed to avoid inspiring dissent. This intentional fragmentation was more than theological. It was psychological, shaping collective perception to fear the unification of wisdom with independence. Yet, hidden texts and mystical traditions offer glimpses of a more radical truth. In some Gnostic manuscripts, Sophia is depicted reaching out, seeking to reclaim what was lost through separation. Her wisdom incomplete without Lilith's courage, her light muted without Lilith's shadow. This suggests that the sacred feminine is not a monolith. It is a spectrum, a synthesis of insight and autonomy, understanding and defiance. The Church, in attempting to erase this synthesis, unwittingly encoded it in cryptic symbols, allegories, and esoteric rituals. Only those willing to pierce through the layers of interpretation can perceive the original resonance. The psychological dimension of this link is equally profound. Within each human being lies a reflection of Sophia's illumination and Lilith's rebellion. When suppressed, the inner Sophia may guide ethical or intellectual pursuits, but without Lilith's assertive force, true transformation is impossible. Conversely, Lilith's boldness without Sophia's wisdom becomes impulsive and destructive. Recognizing their union allows a person to navigate life with clarity, courage, and integrity, a balance of insight and action, contemplation and rebellion. Even more striking is the modern relevance of this erased link. The resurgence of interest in Lilith in contemporary spiritual practices, feminist mysticism, and psychological archetypes is no coincidence. People are intuitively seeking to reclaim the aspects of themselves that were systematically silenced. The right to autonomy, the courage to question authority, and the wisdom to act on personal insight. Similarly, Sophia's presence in meditation, study, and mystical exploration reminds us that knowledge alone is insufficient without the fearless application of that insight. Together, they form an integrated path toward conscious sovereignty. Finally, consider the paradox. The Church attempted to control power by fragmenting wisdom and autonomy, yet the very act of suppression ensured the mythic potency of the Sophia-Lilith link. Hidden, forbidden, dangerous, this knowledge gained a magnetic allure. The seeker who encounters it today is drawn not just by curiosity, but by an archetypal recognition that these forces are essential for true liberation. Understanding their interplay is more than historical insight. It is a practical blueprint for awakening consciousness and reclaiming the full spectrum of inner power. In essence, the Sophia-Lilith connection is not merely a forgotten story. It is an invitation. An invitation to reconcile wisdom with courage, light with shadow, insight with action. And the journey to reclaim it is as much personal as it is cosmic, a path that awakens the seeker to the forces that have always existed within, waiting to be reunited. Understanding the Sophia-Lilith connection is not merely an intellectual exercise. It is a call to live differently, to awaken the dormant forces within you. But how does one reclaim this hidden union, especially when centuries of cultural conditioning have taught us to fear autonomy or undervalue intuitive wisdom? The answer lies in practical, conscious engagement with both the luminous and shadowed aspects of the self. Begin with reflection. Set aside a quiet space, free from distraction, and invite yourself to sense the presence of Sophia, the illuminating wisdom within. This is not about acquiring information, but attuning to insight. Ask yourself questions that pierce beyond superficial understanding. What truths have I ignored out of fear? Or where have I compromised my inner authority? Notice the thoughts and images that arise without judgment. Sophia's guidance often comes softly, as subtle patterns, intuitive nudges, or moments of clarity that surface when the mind is still. Next, call upon Lilith, not as a figure of rebellion for its own sake, but as the embodiment of your sovereign power. Identify areas in life where fear, conformity, or self-doubt have dictated your actions. Lilith's energy is bold, assertive, and unapologetic. It teaches you to act on insight without hesitation. This could be as simple as voicing your truth in a conversation, setting a firm boundary, or embracing a decision you've long deferred. The goal is to integrate courage with wisdom, not recklessness with impulse. A practical exercise to unite Sophia and Lilith involves journaling and active meditation. Begin by writing down insights or truths that emerge from your contemplation of Sophia. Then, explore how you might embody Lilith's assertive energy to bring these truths into your daily life. For example, if you realize a pattern of self-sabotage, consider what Lilith-inspired action could interrupt it: a direct conversation, a new habit, or a conscious refusal to comply with limiting expectations. By linking reflection with action, you create a feedback loop that strengthens both awareness and agency. Rituals can also be powerful. Light a candle or create a small sacred space to symbolize illumination, Sophia, and a protective boundary, Lilith. Visualize the two forces merging within your chest, radiating outward as a unified flame of insight and courage. Feel the energy of knowledge and defiance flowing together, awakening dormant capacities you may have long ignored. Regular practice strengthens this inner alignment, helping you navigate challenges with both clarity and confidence. Finally, remember that integration takes patience. The Sophia-Lilith connection is not something to force, but to cultivate. You may encounter resistance, old fears, societal pressures, or internalized doubts. These are not obstacles, but indicators of where your personal power has been suppressed. Approach them with curiosity, honoring both the guiding light of Sophia and the fierce determination of Lilith. Over time, you will notice a shift. Decisions become more aligned, intuition sharpens, and a subtle, fearless presence emerges in your daily life. By reclaiming this sacred link, you are not just recovering lost history, you are actively participating in a lineage of wisdom that the Church once sought to erase. You are becoming the living embodiment of both insight and sovereignty, a conscious witness to the harmony of light and shadow, wisdom and courage, within yourself and in the world around you. The story of Sophia and Lilith is more than myth. It is a reflection of a truth long suppressed, a divine dance of wisdom and autonomy that has persisted in shadow, waiting for those brave enough to reclaim it. The Church sought to erase this connection, to fragment the sacred feminine, to separate insight from courage. Yet, as with all truths that endure, its essence could not be fully destroyed. It survives in whispers, in hidden texts, and in the inner stirrings of anyone who dares to awaken to their own sovereign power. Reconnecting with Sophia and Lilith is an act of profound liberation. It is a recognition that true wisdom is inseparable from the courage to act, that light cannot flourish without shadow, and that the divine feminine is not passive or constrained, but alive and active within each of us. When these forces converge within your consciousness, life itself becomes a canvas for insight and empowered choice. You begin to navigate reality with clarity and boldness, seeing paths where others see obstacles, and finding strength where others find fear. This is not merely a historical curiosity, it is a living blueprint for transformation. Every act of self-trust, every embrace of intuition, every refusal to surrender your truth is a reclaiming of what was once deliberately hidden. The Sophia-Lilith link is a reminder that liberation, wisdom, and courage are never external gifts. They are inner capacities awaiting recognition and integration. So I leave you with this: look inward, listen to the subtle threads of your own consciousness, and seek the union of wisdom and rebellion within yourself. Question what has been imposed upon you. honor your inner knowing, and allow the courage to awaken fully. The journey is both personal and universal, a return to a sacred lineage of insight and power that the world may have tried to erase, but that can never be extinguished entirely. The question remains, will you step into this forgotten dance? Will you awaken the union of Sophia and Lilith within, and reclaim the wisdom that is both your birthright and your liberation?